Back in the mid-90s, Star Wars was in a period of transition. A decade after Return of the Jedi and a few years before The Phantom Menace, Lucasfilm needed something to reinvigorate interest in the franchise, which led to a multimedia project the likes of which had never been seen before, and has largely been lost to time. This is the story of Shadows of the Empire, the game based on the Star Wars movie that was never made.
Of the Empire.
Hey, how's it going, guys? This is Tom from UDS and welcome to the best Star Wars video games ever, our series where we run down the cream of the crop from a galaxy far, far away. If you're new to the channel, then you can expect reviews of current releases and features on hidden gems, so if you're a fan of all things video games, Star Wars or otherwise, definitely consider subscribing. We are this close to 1,000 subs, and I really want to take advantage of that community tab algorithm hack before YouTube nerfs the hell out of it, so help a guy out. Anyway, on with the show. The story of Shadows of the Empire goes way further than just a game for the N64, and it's worth starting with a little look at this wider picture before we get into the nitty-gritty. Originally thought up in 1994 and then released in 96, not only did it look to bridge the real-world gap between the original and prequel trilogies, but also the in-universe timeline between The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. While there had been material set between A New Hope and Empire, the chasm between episodes 5 and 6 was much less explored, making it ripe for adaptation. The story focuses on the heroes of the Rebel Alliance tracking down a carbon-frozen Han Solo. All the while, Darth Vader uses the might of the Empire to track down his baby boy Luke. God, what a committed father. It also introduced us to new characters and factions such as the roguish Han Solo. Kyle Katarn? No, wait, what's his name? Oh yeah, of course, Dash Rendar. As well as Prince Shizor, leader of the criminal Black Sun group. We'll see much more of both of these when we get to the game in a second. But what made Shadows of the Empire so unusual was that it was everything you'd expect from a commercial movie campaign, just without the movie. So what I mean is that it included novels, comic books, a soundtrack, which of course I have on vinyl, trading cards, role-playing games, posters, model kits, micro machines, statuettes, and action figures. Heck, they even gave it a cinematic trailer comprised of new narration over repurposed shots from the films. It was a bloomin' movie campaign!
After The Empire Strikes Back and before Return of the Jedi, there was a time when heroes and villains alike lived in the shadows of the Empire.
Whew. But among the crate dragon-sized mountain of content, the one piece of the tapestry that's continued to skirt around the zeitgeist is Shadows of the Empire, the video game. Designed to be a launch title for the Nintendo 64, it was developed before the console had even been made. This meant work on the game had to be done on computers that vaguely mimicked the N64's hardware. Would this make-do style of development reflect on the final product? Well, let's find out. Yes it would, but still, let's find out anyway, we need the watch time. The game centers around new protagonist Dash Rendar, a rugged smuggler whose heart of gold compels him to help the rebellion. Sound familiar? Okay, so he's obviously a stand-in for the frozen Mr. Solo, but he's still a charmer and honestly has enough personality to carry a story. And speaking of the game's story, it's split into 4 distinct chapters, each of which has its own classic title crawl. Part 1, entitled Escape from Echo Base, kinda serves as a prequel, actually taking place during the Battle of Hoth. Here we're introduced to Dash and his droid companion Lebo as they drop off supplies in their ship the Outrider, which definitely doesn't look exactly the same as the Millennium Falcon, right? With the impending Imperial assault, God, try saying that 3 times fast, you jump in a snowspeeder to take down AT-ATs in classic Rogue Squadron style, before making a getaway in the nick of time. Part 2, In Search for Boba Fett, takes place immediately after The Empire Strikes Back, with Dash on the hunt for everyone's second favourite Mandalorian, who's now in possession of Dash's brother from another mother, Han Solo. We finally find Boba after a detour rendezvous with bounty hunter droid IG-88. But of course, old Helmet Head manages to escape, presumably to sell Solo to Jabba in return for his own Kowakian monkey lizard. It's in this section that we're introduced to Prince Shizor and his malevolent plan to get Luke Skywalker killed, believing he'll endear himself to the Emperor. Not the smartest move. This guy's got a track record of betrayals. We go back to Tatooine for part 3, Hunting the Assassins, as Jabba's goons head to Ben Kenobi's house where Luke is honing his Jedi skills. This section includes a really cool speeder bike passage, in which you have to take out Jabba's biker gang in a race to Ben's homestead. With Luke safe for now, he informs you of plans for a secret construction project hidden on an Imperial computer. A secret, spherical, that's no moon, that's a space station type of construction project, if you know what I mean. You then single-handedly steal the computer like the rugged, handsome, definitely not Harrison Ford hero that you are. The fourth and final chapter, Lair of the Dark Prince, starts with Dash, Luke, and the other top lads on a mission to rescue Princess Leia, who's fallen captive to Xizor. After sneaking his way onto Xizor's base, Dash manages to save the princess and blow up Xizor's space station, killing the prince seemingly at the expense of his own life. That is, unless you beat the game on medium or hard, which unlocks a secret epilogue scene where it's revealed that Dash and Lebo escaped by jumping to lightspeed. With everyone believing them to be dead, it's inferred that they slip back into a life of honourable swashbucklery. Personally, the 4-part episodic nature of the story really worked for me. It feels kinda similar to a limited series, with each part having their own mini-climax, ramping up to a spectacular final act. As for gameplay, it's a bit more of a mixed bag, and is ambitious if nothing else. It's split between third-person combat and vehicle sections, and while the latter has aged pretty well, the former wasn't really that hot even at the time. The controls are cumbersome at the best of times, and that's when Dash's body isn't blocking out the entire bloomin' screen. That's why it's probably an inadvertently good thing that most of the enemies are slow and cumbersome. Had they been any more challenging, I probably would have died a whole lot more, and boy did I die a lot already. Gosh, I'm bad at games. None of this is game-breaking, it's just a bit annoying, and demonstrates why critics called it too ambitious for its own good. Had they just stuck to vehicle combat or on-foot action, they could have refined the experience into something more intuitive. With that being said, it's still an essential play for fans of Star Wars, and isn't without some nifty features, a few of which have some pretty prestigious origins. For example, a lead at Nintendo thought that the Renegade Rendar should have an idle animation, rather than just standing still when not being controlled. That Nintendo lead only happened to be Shigeru Miyamoto, creator of Mario. Despite its obvious shortcomings, there's still an undeniable charm about Shadows of the Empire. Exploring the seedy underbelly of the Star Wars galaxy was something seldom seen beforehand, and the game does a great job of making you feel part of the universe without falling back on lightsabers and the Force. On the N64 version, cutscenes play out through static images and text on screen. While they do make Dash look a little bit like a caricature of Kevin Costner, they do a good job of filling in the gaps between gameplay. On the other hand, the later PC port had fully voiced CG scenes, which although more engaging, do smack of late 90s computer block people. I guess what I'm trying to say is that despite technical limitations, the N64 version has probably aged better. But if you ask me, it's about damn time we got a remaster, or at the very least an HD re-release of Shadows. Sure, it's not canon since the Disney purge, but neither were Jedi Knight, Jedi Outcast, or Jedi Academy, and they both got Switch ports. As we ourselves enter a relatively quiet spell for Star Wars releases, what with The Mandalorian finished for another year and the annual movie release cycle paused for the time being, it's only fitting to have Shadows of the Empire fill the void once again. And that's a wrap on this edition of the best Star Wars video games ever. Have you got fond memories of Shadows of the Empire? Please let me know in the comments below. I would love to read your thoughts. And of course, don't forget to subscribe, because, you know, when you're a small channel, every interaction helps. And hey, maybe you'll even like what you see. I can't promise it, but maybe. But most importantly, let me know what game to feature next. I have a huge back catalogue to get through, and frankly, without your guidance, I'm probably going to end up playing Attack of the Clones on the Game Boy Advance again. Wow, this is underwhelming. Just like the movie! This is the story of Shadows of the Empire, the Star Wars movie based on the game that was never Star Wars.